should be good now. Bring down the music there. Hello, everyone. How you doing? It's good to see y'all. It's time for the cooldown. Welcome. If you are not aware, my name is Ron. It sounds like everybody can hear me great. I am the DM for the Dungeon Run, and this is our weekly Patreon-supported show where we talk about what's gone on in the show in the previous weeks and maybe what's coming up and a variety of other topics. Typically, it is a host and then a guest. Well, today, it's just me. It's DM Day. That's right, we're going to do a DM cooldown where all of you get to ask your questions to me about how I play, how I create, the world itself, a variety of things that you wish to ask, as well as create for upcoming episodes. That's right, we're going to do some more interactions. Always my want to increase the amount of interaction this show has to a manageable level, obviously, which we'll get into here soon. But today, we're going to be discussing a lot of things. Before I get anywhere else, I want to thank all of you out there for being here. I want to thank you for all of your donations. And if you are a Patreon supporter, and if you're not, please think about it, because this plus so many other things are available to you as an audience member, as the gods who watch, largely because of our Patreon support. So thank you if you're a Patreon supporter. If you're not, think about it. We've got a bunch of things that are there for you to gain access to, including our short rests, which are brand new, which are 15 to 20 minute long, unedited conversations with the cast right after the show is complete. It's a brand new thing we've brought to you. A variety of other things, merch discounts. I'll be releasing a very large amount of DM tools now that we're out of the City of Glass. I'll be dropping some of those at our DM tier here. I've been keeping them sort of behind things because I wanted them to be a surprise to everyone, including you out there. So I'll be dropping some of those in the next couple of weeks as well. All right, so let's just see who's out there. I see Tapartos, Idaho Judge, Angel Devilson, Mom of Goblins. Let's see who else. Welcome, everyone. Braba, hello. Tuo Mask, Red Robin, yum. And let's see, a bunch of other people out there. Welcome, everybody. JMJ, welcome. Hello to everyone out there. Okay, so, Sean, hello. We are just going to get straight to some of the questions. There's only a few on the Patreon page today. Let's see, did I get rid of that? I hope I didn't. Let me check. Where's the Patreon? Nope, that's Valcorio. I was reading over Valcorio's stuff, so, want to make sure that that's all there. Because we are going to Valcorio's hometown very soon in the Dungeon Run. Spoiler alert! But as always, I will just put up front, if you're in this chat right now, if you're watching this, there are potentials for spoiler alerts all over the place. It's sort of, we like to be free with what we can talk about during this cooldown show. You also get access to this show afterwards. If you're watching live, you get access to it now. But after we are done, it will be removed from the Twitch page. So you will only be able to gain access to this for a few weeks via our Patreon portal. So let me pull up the questions. I had them, but I think in my prep for creating with y'all today, I closed the Patreon questions. So let me open them up real quick and we will get right to them. I want to call out Idaho Judd and Tapartos. You guys are very, very involved in the Patreon, and I very much appreciate that, especially when questions are needed. So, okay, so we're going to start with our first questions. The first one is from Idaho Judd. Idaho says, "Hey Ron, congratulations on the awesome campaign. Questions for the show. As a DM, how much do you plan multiple paths for your overarching story? When you come to a table each night, do you have backups ready, or more have your primary plan and then improvise if things go off the rails?" Well, I think Jeff and I have talked about this a little bit in the past, in that, you build a mind castle, to borrow from Sherlock. You build a mind castle. You think about what's, you prep depending on where you're at or where you're going. For example, the City of Glass was a city, so I knew there were certain things that I had to prepare for. That included places, names of individuals, possible NPCs they might run into, and because I had built specific delineators in the City of Glass, for example, the Waning Souls, the Enlightened, and the Chosen, I had sort of buckets that I could go, okay, these NPCs could be the Chosen, these NPCs could be the Enlightened, these might be Waning Souls. And so I started filling in those buckets as I came up with the delineations within the City of Glass. That helped me prepare for any interactions they might have. I then sort of created a unique thing about the City of Glass was that it was sort of a constantly changing landscape, as we had introduced early on. And so to maintain the truth of that, I had to sort of create regions within the city that they might go in. And then again, that's a bucket, right? Now I've got regions that I was going to create. And so some of those regions I would say, okay, they might run into this bar. They might be able to run into this particular setting. And because it had to be sort of on the fly, I gave myself some specifics, but then allowed myself to improvise as they decided where they wanted to go. So Idaho Judd, to answer your question, is sort of a mix of things. I prepared enough so that I knew what was happening, at least within the next, what I thought would happen within an encounter, and then sort of improvise from there using all of the preparation that I have done. So it's sort of a mix, right? And I think that's generally, individuals who DM, although I guess Jeff might be a particular caveat to that. He's very much a what I would call a novelist DM. He's got a story that he wants to tell. Here's the sections that I want you to go through, and he prepares them. Now, he has some improvisation in there and some places to tweak, but he's also doing that as the players play, right? So that's kind of what I'm not a novelist DM. I would not call myself a novelist DM. I would call myself an improv DM, but also a prepper DM, to borrow the terminology. So I prep a little bit, enough to know sort of what's going on and where we're going, but I have to keep it open-ended enough because I have very smart players that decide to do things that you can never really account for. And so as long as you prep enough, you can have tools to sort of rely on the improv sections that become what a DM really fills in. So I hope that answered your question, Idaho Judd. Thank you again for all of your interactivity in every way that you help with the show. I really appreciate you. Okay, next is Tapartos. Two sort of questions from Tapartos here. Ron, what part of the City of Glass were you most proud of creating, and what part of the city did the players not go to that you wish they had? And then, in addition, sort of similar to what part of the cities the players did not go to, any fun characters the party did not meet in the City of Glass? I've got a couple of those, actually, so let me pull some of those up for you. Just to give you an example, I was pleasantly surprised, Tapartos and the rest of you watching, that they went through most of the notable areas, right? We had 7 real notable areas: the Glistening Spires, the Twisting Lanes, the Scholars Enclave, the Sunforged District, the Shadowmire, the Lumbral Gardens, which functioned as sort of the central location of the City of Glass, and then the outskirts known as the Shattered Expanse. Now, as we know from the show, they mostly spent a lot of their time in the Shattered Expanse, the Lumbral Gardens, the Shadowmire, and the Twisting Lanes, with some jumps most into the Sunforged District. Outside of that, they didn't really spend a whole lot of time in the Glistening Spires or in the Scholars Enclave. And I think one of the most here's the thing. Jared and I designed sort of the City of Glass and designed the whole place setting, and then sort of mix things up. I was responsible largely for the Pantheon and the story of the Pantheon in that way, and Jared was responsible for a variety of other things, including force cards and City of Glass is his sort of creation. It started out as when I was gone early on in the first chapter. I got married. Love you, Heather. I always take time to say hello and love you to my wife. I doubt she's watching. She's at work. So the City of Glass was sort of originally introduced in a very small way by Jared while I was gone. And we had many conversations over time about what the City of Glass was, how it functioned, what it might function as. And then towards the end of chapter 1, we brought the players there. And that was sort of obviously a choice by the players themselves, but also functioned as a way for us to transition from you're surviving and now you get to know more about what's going on and making specific choices on how to handle it. So it was sort of the transition from Act 1 to Act 2. And so there was a lot that wasn't created for the City of Glass, and so I had to sort of start filling that in. So for example, the masks and what their importance was pretty shallow at first, so I had to sort of build that in, and that's when I started making the buckets of the Chosen, the Embraced, and the Waning Souls. You know, it's a Pantheon decision. Lumbra had a very specific way of going about things, and so the masks became important. I took the yes and from Jared about masks becoming very important, and sort of filled those in and thought, well, okay, we have already, when we got to the City of Glass, okay, now how do I delineate this? Well, we know that there are people who are alive that have masks on. We saw that early. That was Crystal Ball, obviously, and Baron Medulon. They had masks. So we needed to have some sort of naming convention for that. So that's where the Chosen came in, right? The Chosen of Umbreth, the Chosen of Luminath, the Chosen of Lumbra, having sort of their own caveats as well. And then I thought, well, we also introduced that there were some souls that were there that had masks on. So that had to be introduced as well. So that was another bucket. Okay, so you have people who have died that have chosen. Jared introduced this early on when Crystal Ball came to the City of Glass when he first died, was that there were people who had died there and had chosen to take the mask. So they don't have bodies, they're souls. They're not there by planes jumping or going through a mirror or anything like that. They died. So they were souls that were brought to this location. So they also had masks. So that was another caveat. And then, well, if you have alive people that have masks and you have dead people that have masks, then what happens if living people and dead people don't have masks? Well, the living people not having masks, I wanted to be part of the party discovering, right? I wanted them to discover that if they chose to go that route. But then, you know, if you don't choose the mask, if you go to a death realm and Lumbra's not there, if you go to a realm of death and you don't choose to revere the god, then what happens? And that's where the Waning Souls sort of came in. Jared sort of created that, I think unintentionally, when he identified that there were souls that had no masks that Baron Medulon was hunting down. So those were like, I talk about this often when we're creating. It's hard to take a blank piece of paper like this. It's very hard to take a blank piece of paper and just create something from nothing. It's very difficult. So one of the easiest things for you to do, especially when you're improvising or creating in any way, and I'm pretty sure Bob Ross did this plenty of times, which is just put something down. For me, I like to, in terms of a blank piece of paper, a big blotch of ink, you just spray it on there and now you've got something to work with. Limitation is the key to human ingenuity, in my opinion. When you have a limit, your creative influences start to really bubble and grow, trying to find ways around those limitations, right? We're a species of tool makers, and a limit is a source for you to learn what the tools are that you are going to use. So masks sort of function that way. Thank you, Johnny Valentine, for subscribing. 9 months, a relatively new addition. Welcome. Kitty Scritches, I see you gifted a sub to Oh Hey Jess. I'm sure she'll love that. I'm the Raven Queen. Thank you for being here. I also support you, friend. And so I think I answered that question. I tend to ramble sometimes, especially when I'm talking about creative things. I just follow the dopamine, y'all. That would be called ADHD, neurodivergency. It's a thing in this brain. Okay. So the most thing I was proud of, it's hard. I have a weird thing with pride. I like the stuff I create, but I always see paths of where it could be improved. And I try not to focus on that, and my friends and family really help me with that. But part of, being neurodivergent is also imposter syndrome. And so often when I create something, I don't know if it's going to be any good. I have no real indication. I just know it's something that I found interesting and hope that those that I put in front of also find it interesting. And that's where my cast really comes. That's where the cast comes. I say my cast. The cast comes in really pivotively for me. In a pivotal way, for me, is their reaction to what I'm creating. And in certain cases, I'm not watching chat while we're playing, so afterwards also becomes very important for me. I'll go and read chats. I'll look at sort of what has been said during the show. Heather often functions that way. She'll be in chat. She watches the show just like all of you. She's a god who watches. So she'll often, I'll check in with her during intermission sometimes, or at the end of the show. When I come home, we'll have conversations about what everybody else thought, especially in chat, and the feeling that she got. And that helps sort of frame what I thought was well done. And I know that's probably not a satisfying answer to what I was most proud of, but it is also, because what I'm most proud of is that the cast and the audience found it interesting. That's what I was most proud of. That I have a complex brain, and that is very clear in the lore that you find, I think, in the show, is that when you create, a pantheon of large amounts of gods, it requires a lot of things, right? It requires a lot of complexity to it, because that's just the nature of things. If you go and read any mythologies, there are simplified concepts, but when you look at the whole, it is very complex, and mostly with relationships. And so that was sort of, I think, where some of my pride also comes in, is I'm very proud of the relationships that are built within the campaign setting. Now, what part of the city that the players did not go through that I wish they had? Scholars Enclave, for sure. I wish they had gone into the Scholars Enclave a little bit more prior to the Night of Souls. But they go where they want to, and they go where they're driven. So that's sort of what it is. Thank you. Yes. I should actually probably take a time here. I am the Raven Queen. Thank you for saying that. I think it's sort of, I need to say something about the strike. I obviously very much support the strike. If you're not on my socials, you can see all over my socials that I have been participating in the strike events that SAG-AFTRA is putting on. Before this show started, I was lucky to count myself within the top 13% of actors making enough money to afford healthcare. I could only do so for, a couple of years, really 2 years before the pandemic hit, and then of course lost my insurance during the pandemic. So it is very important for what we actors and writers are fighting for right now. The ability to be a living, a living wage actor is clearly only 13% of us, of the large amount of actors that are in the union, and that is because over time the contracts have sort of, and the changing in the industry, things just haven't changed. Your contract law doesn't change as quickly as the industry does. Streaming is a perfect example of that, and we as a show are sort of the reason this show works is because we don't have funding, right? The only funding we have is all of you. So we don't really have contracts with SAG-AFTRA because we don't fall within the purview of them. That may change in the future. You don't know. You sort of have to play it as you find it. But unions, in my opinion, if you were to ask me, and this is my personal opinion, unions are, especially in late stage capitalism, very, very important. it is the one way that democracy sort of, has a way into capitalism. And since that's the economic paradigm we have decided to continue to use, then the more and more the closer and the later and later capitalism goes, the more and more important unions become. But if you know anything about union history or the history of the United States and its economic paradigms, unions have become, their teeth have been filed away into, we're basically nubs now. So this is sort of a pivotal moment in all of that, where unions are important, and anyone can have a union, right? It's just a group of people that get together. It's basically a democracy, where we go, hey, oh yeah, you don't like working 80 hours a week with no breaks? Cool, neither do I. I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. all the time and then go home at 4 a.m. and then be expected to be back at 6. I can't get 2 hours of sleep and be safe on a set. And I'm being obviously very dramatic in those interpretations, but this is the thing. All workers should unionize, in my opinion. Unions, of course, like any paradigm that we choose, when you involve humans with concepts, problems arise. But that doesn't mean you don't try, right? And I find that unions work when more people are involved and more people try to be a part of it. I'm happy to say that I was skeptical when entering SAG-AFTRA at the beginning because of what I've seen, especially during the pandemic when I lost health insurance. But I am also proud to say that I worked in Atlanta as an actor for a long time before becoming, and as a SAG-AFTRA actor in Atlanta before coming to LA. And one of the major things that SAG is currently fighting for, which I'm very proud of, is equal treatment between New York, LA, and everywhere else. Currently, because of the way contracts have just been negotiated over the years, if you're in Atlanta, your day rate as a background actor is very different than your day rate here in LA or New York City as a background actor, and same for all levels of acting. To the point of, even in Atlanta, that's why I left, to be completely honest. The reason I left in Atlanta is I got popular there and couldn't make a living being an actor because they don't pay you like they're supposed to pay you. And so I moved here to do that, and almost immediately found that, oh yeah, that was a good idea, because I started getting paid enough to work as an actor. And then as streaming became more and more popular, because, pandemic and prior, I don't make enough money as an actor, guys. I just don't. I don't make enough money even now on this show to do just this, because all the money goes straight to those who are providing the streaming service and aren't really equitably, presented to those who help run those things. I think there's even a video of Snoop Dogg talking about that recently, where he's like, hey man, I don't understand this stuff. Maybe, and I'm paraphrasing for Snoop Dogg, obviously, but he says, hey man, I don't, understand how all these millions of streams can mean that there's no millions of dollars. Yeah, good question, Snoop Dogg. Love to know. So all of that to say, thank you for being supportive of us. We are going to continue the show while SAG-AFTRA is on strike, largely because we do not fall within the purview of the struck work. We don't work with big, we no longer work with large studios, whereas before, when we were with Caffeine, we did. Well, now we don't. So we will continue to produce content as we can. We're off this week, obviously, but we have got a lot of really cool things coming up. So there's going to be some announcements coming. I can't really say much. Marvel might kill me if I did, but we've got some cool stuff that's coming. One thing I can tell you is that we're trying to build something a little bit like Marvel. Not in grandiosity, but in universes and interconnected stories between different shows. So I think you'll start to see more of that as we move forward. I find that really compelling. That's the thing I love about Marvel, is that they have like interconnected stories that all sort of fit in one way, shape, or form. Now, not everything is going to be like super tight and like this thing leads to that thing, but you'll start to get, droplets, lore droplets. And that's sort of why I've started talking about lore interactions and those kind of things. Lore keepers, as we will call you. I'll talk a little bit more about that sometime on this channel. Still in development, so anything that I say here is obviously up for change as we move forward. Thank you. Yes, Sticky Pants, Easter eggs. Yes, Kitty Scritches. Josephine has hinted that she has a loose tied Ein. That is true. We are obviously Ein exists somewhere in the multiverse of this world, and I'm excited to continue to see how that all sort of melds together. So we're I think one of the things that especially Morgan and I, now that we've sort of started heading these things up as everyone else's lives have sort of led them in different directions, largely because, again, what the union is striking about, we don't have enough money to focus on these things, so we have to do what's best for our families. We are still in contact. Literally, if you go and see the socials, Katie was at the strike, so we struck with Katie, this week. Morgan has been out there with Netflix. We were at Disney this week. I plan on striking more as we continue. And I just want to stress to all of you, if you're not aware, it is all indications that we will be striking for quite a few months. It might be one of the longest strikes for film and television that has ever occurred in history. We have not struck both writers and actors since the 80s. Writers struck in 2007, and I don't think the 80s was the last time that SAG-AFTRA struck, and writers and actors together haven't since the inception of the film and television contracts that we have, which was in the 60s. So, buckle in. This is historic, and it's going to mean a lot of weird things for the shows and studios and things that you love. So just know, no matter what the news is, especially coming out of the AMTPT, writers and actors are in the same boat. We are brothers and sisters and theys together, and we're fighting for a better future. So anything that you might hear in the news, largely take with a grain of salt, especially if it's not coming out of SAG-AFTRA or Writers Guild, because already they're playing the news war where they're trying to split us and give misinformations here and there about what's going on. So thank you all for supporting shows like this. This allows us to continue, and your support will allow us to make good, better, good and improving the show in general. Okay. So I've talked enough about that. Let's actually get to why we're here, which is the DM day. So Tapartas wants to know fun characters in the City of Glass that I did not get to. There's quite a few. You will probably end up seeing more of the Red Cap Mafia. There were some opportunities there, depending on choices that they made, that, the Red Cap Mafia could have been involved a little bit with the City of Glass, which of course had an impact on the story as a whole. But their choices did not lead them that route. So that's perfectly all well and good and understandable. Let's see. Let me pull up my notes here, because I can tell you specific individuals. Valthor, it was interesting. Just give you guys some insight. In the moment where they decided not to chase after Netzir, there was an opportunity for them to run into Valthor, and I was sort of hoping that they would do that. I was sort of shocked that they did not follow Netzir deeper into the swamp. Good strategic choice. It sort of surprised me, I think it was an opportunity for them to get to know Valthor a little better. But again, this is part of being a DM, and why you don't want to create too much, because if you create too much, they may skip over large chunks of this time that you spent in creating things. So Netzir, obviously they had a little bit of interaction with, but did not see. There was a dwarf. I don't know if you guys recall, but when they entered the court, there was a dwarf that was sitting on their side. Thara Deepstone She's a lore keeper. She was chosen of Luminath, and was in the Scholars Enclave. So you would not, if they had gone there, they probably would have run into her. There's another woman that they could have run into in the Glistening Spires who was a chosen, Lysandra Silverquill. They were a painter in their they are a painter, and one of their whole reasons for coming to the City of Glass was to basically create great works of art that could then be disseminated into the material plane. So there were, quite a few in there. There's a druid that sort of was responsible for the Lumbro Gardens. Illyria, Green Whisper. She was Dragonborn. So there's a couple of NPCs that they didn't get to meet or to interact with in the City of Glass. So we've got a question. Somebody asked a question about Cristobal. Let me go up there and see. Let me just scroll back here. Rabbit Attack It says, what does this mean for Cristobal's mirror magic item? Will he be no longer able to use it, or will it change in its nature like the City of Glass? Rabbit Attack Goat, I believe, especially in the last episode, a certain character made it pretty clear that things are going to change, that the City of Glass is going away, since it was sort of a against the rules location, at least the way that they had talked about it. So yes, I believe that does not mean Lumbra is going away. Lumbra is still around, clearly. But yes, the mirrors will function differently. I don't want to give away too much on that because I want the cast to sort of use them and everybody be surprised on how that goes. But yeah, that will mean a change in things. Red Robin 1972 asks, is changeling a real race in D&D? Yes, it is. I can definitively say to you that in Mekatos, changelings, as far as anyone knows, do not exist. So that's an interesting little caveat to our world. Let's see, any other questions that I missed while I was rambling about the strikes? Oh yeah, what will happen to all the NPCs in the city when it collapses? Will they be shunted out? Yeah, I think I can say pretty definitively that if they were chosen, aka alive with masks, they will be shunted out of there. Where they go will probably be up to our Astral Dragon when they decide to close down the City of Glass. The souls outside of that, the Enlightened and the Waning, you'll have to see on those. You'll have to see. Let's see. Has the mirror force card? His mirror was a force card, so it will not a might stay. It definitely will stay. As I've identified, any of the force cards, items that come from force cards will not be removed. They will not cease to exist because of the time change by the Astral Dragon. But anything... no, I am the Raven Queen. You didn't make me ramble. My brain makes me ramble. It's the neurodivergency, especially when I'm talking about something I'm very passionate about. But it's a needed thing. I think we need to speak more openly about this stuff. There's a lot of misinformation out there, especially about cosplayers and actual players and all that kind of stuff. So, it's important for us to make known what our opinions are. And I want to stress again, I'm on the Dungeon Cooldown, right? But these views are mine. I can say that most of them are probably shared by Morgan and the rest of the cast, but I don't want you guys to get confused that my opinions are necessarily those of the company or of any of the other players and producers. So just wanted to be clear there. Kitty Scritches asked, what was in the chest that they did not open? Good question. Let me pull up that part of the adventure. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. Did I put it here? Nope. Where is it? Where is it? Gotta be in here, because this is where I created it. Must be. Let me look for tower. Ooh, it is hot today, guys. I am telling you, here it is, Umbral Mansion. Okay, in the chest that they did not open, which was in the study. Was it a study? No, it was in the private quarters. In the private quarters, there was a trap in the chest. Another sort of, it was similar to the one in the wardrobe. Sort of, you know, alerting someone that they were there. Oh yeah, Spicy 105. I think right now it's, let me check. What is it right here? Where I'm at. It is just over 92 here where I'm at. So it's getting crazy. Another thing I could talk lots about. This is the coolest summer the rest of us will have for the rest of our lives, as will every summer until we are all long gone from this world. Okay, so private quarters. There was a scroll of a, I don't want to tell you the magic scroll because it was a spell that has not yet been revealed. It is not a standard spell in 5e, so they missed out on a potential brand new spell. Yeah, so that was what was in the chest, Kitty Stritches. Sorry if that's not completely satisfying. There's also a couple of gems there, some perfect gems for Otto. A sapphire, a piece of amber that was you know, not shattered or somehow made imperfect. FF Gogo asks, I'm way behind due to events. Sorry you're behind. Thank you for being here. Wondering if the 2 force cards from before the City of Glass is still active. The Red Sun was sort of had ended just before the City of Glass, and the split battlefield was used in the last combat of the City of Glass. Rabbit Attack Goat, I think we've sort of said before that items and spell scrolls and things that you might find in normal treasures in the D&D 5e are valid and available to be part of force cards. Absolutely. So this is actually a good transition into force cards. So I'm going to go ahead and open up what our current force cards document, just so I'm reading from the most current stuff, because I know everybody finds time to put in there. But I do want to say that since we have this document since April 5th of 2021. That was when the first one came in, and it was actually submitted by the Successful Pancake. There were quite a few on the 5th that came in. The second one that came in was Angel Devilson, then a bunch of other names I haven't heard for a while, and then a Cetar, a Cosmic Lord, a Crafton Crunch, Changebox offered one, David Gen Pro offered one on the 5th. There were quite a few that came in. Now, a lot of the ones that came in previously, we don't use because they're sort of meant, let's see, these were meant for the previous show, the previous season. So we don't really use those anymore. But as of today, we have had a total of 848 force cards submitted. Yeah. It's incredible. So if you will have created force cards for the previous season and they never got used, you're more than welcome to make them fit for this season if you wish. Go ahead and resubmit those. Actually, I want to go ahead and read some of these here that we've gotten recently that I think are good. Oh, we've had a big submission in the last couple of days, which is good. Some from Infinity Hamster to Partos, Ghostbusters Quick Response Unit. I Am Truly No One. That's a new one. Ryan Winters, Braba. Our typical force card writers. If you have not yet written a force card, I highly recommend that you put them in here. As I have been sort of saying in the Discord, if you do not hold yourselves back, I can edit you and your force cards and reserve the right to do so at any time to make it fit for what we're doing. But yeah, no, Johnny Valentine, we will be sticking with light and shadow. We feel that fits generally better for multiple different shows rather than having to change things every time. Nature and Cosmos fit very well for this particular show, but because of the nature of things and switching to, you know, arcs and smaller clumps of shows that can be watched independently, we felt it was, especially I felt it was necessary for us to switch to something that was a little bit more like Good and Evil, but didn't come up with all the moral hang-ups of Good and Evil. So Light and Shadow will remain. Yeah, tattoos and bones, please. And I hope that some of them include tattoos and or bones. Just saying. Let's see. Should I really buckle down and make some force card suggestions? Yes, you should. I agree. When do we get to meet the slime farmers? Well, they had an opportunity, Sean. I even introduced that there was sort of a war going on in Fosarium, and they chose to go to a different location. And actually, before we get into force cards, I would like to just sort of show you. Yeah, Tiny Misfortunes, the split battlefield was very cool. I wanted, you know, there was a little bit of a conversation about, well, that was so isn't intended in teleportation and so on and so forth. But I wanted to offer, because of the level of card that it was, I wanted to offer some rewards to players using smart battle tactics in order to try to get around that obstacle. And I think Josephine did a very good job with Blink in doing that. So I wanted to reward them for that. With 5e Spell was Tepartos. Great card. You're really bucking down. Remember submitting one. Angel Devilson. I don't remember submitting one. Yeah, it was like very, very first time. I'll even tell you what the name of it, Angel Devilson. It was Halo of Protection is what it was called. Pretty standard thing. Plus 2 to AC. Additional 1d6 Radiant. Or 2d6 if they were Fiends or Undead. Very, very standard. That was before we had levels. It was a force of good. Let's see. So, answered that. Can they take up a lot of your time when you get on rolls submitting? They can take up a lot of time. You tell me. Red Robin wants to know, do I miss Uggo? Yeah, of course I do. I mean, Uggo is sort of parts of me, right? Bits and pieces of me that were real, and then sort of other parts that were not, that were sort of fantasy related to his history. I'm really proud of a lot of the dramatic work I did with Uggo. So yeah, of course I miss him. He's a getting better dude, that guy. Becoming a better dude, that guy. Please do Tattoos and Bones. I cannot wait. Best games are the ones where players break the rules. Yes, Idaho Judd, I agree. And that comes to, yes, I even built this for this specific stream. I've got some sharing to do with y'all. So we're going to move. Let me see if I can bring it up. We're going to move to a show and tell that I have set up, because I would like to show you a little bit about where we're going. So this is a spoiler. If you don't want this to be spoiled for you because you have not caught up, or if you're one of those that just spoilers ruin a story for you, I totally can not relate. I don't understand that personally. For me, it doesn't work that way. But I am totally understanding of that. So giving you a spoiler warning right now. So I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to mute me, or I would look away because it's going to be visual. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. All right. So now we will spoil a little bit. Here, this is the part of the map that our players will be going to next. I am the Raven Queen. I'd take a huggo from Uggo in a heartbeat. Amen. Absolutely. So we will be releasing this map soon. This is Mechas. This is the southern island, which we have not yet seen, or really, we've gotten bits and pieces of it. But now, because of the choices of the characters, we are going there. So this is the northern end. We demand a full week at the bathhouse. This is the northern end of the map. This map, again, also
created by Jared and I by throwing dice on a table and drawing on a dry erase map and then deciding where important things were. And then all of that information was taken by, why can't I remember? JP Couvert. There it is, Covert. I assumed it was Couvert, but JP, and made into this beautiful thing that you see. So I have a framed version of Toss here. So this is also the same, as you can tell, same sort of, it's blurry, apologies. But I have a framed version of Toss, and I'll be getting a framed version of Mechas as well to put up on my walls behind me. But this is the northern island of Mechas. We introduced the Lake of Dreams. Yeah, nothing bad. Ignore those tentacles. Please ignore them. They're not there. The Lake of Dreams, Ivory Bathhouse. We've got the Oracle of Escos. There's nearby is the Veashoff Salt Flats. I wonder what this thing is. Avondale Grove, the Thresher Grasslands, Carnora Precipice. As you can see, this is sort of a very large butte. As you can see, the Last Bastion Tower, Silesia Woodlands. We've got a major, this is the Ruadark Run, which is the river here, this large river. And of course you have the Tri-Cities, including Solessa, Cosmoleg, and Lunarum. So those are this is where we will be starting. The Port of Dominion, we've seen and heard a little bit, especially in Val's Session 0 about these places. The location that Val started was sort of down here on this, oh, you can't see my cursor, on the southern tip peninsula. The largest one there on the larger peninsula, just south and west of Lunarum. That was sort of where he was at. The Ortlor Expanse, big range of mountains there that sort of cut off the Tri-Cities from the rest of the island, other than the river. Yeah, so this is where we're headed, this whole area. I'm pretty sure that our players, at least I get a guess that our players are really interested in the Lake of Dreams and this Oracle, considering who they who they are, who the Oracle is. And then of course we have the Tri-Cities, that is very, very important to Val's backstory. So population, yeah, I will tell you, I'll give you that information. In fact, we're probably some of this we're going to discover together, because I have some ideas, but we need to flesh it out, because didn't know if they were going here anytime soon, and need to sort of flesh those things out. And we've identified that in the southern islands, there's a lot more population than on the northern island. The northern island is a lot more sparse, rugged, dangerous. The southern island's a lot more developed, still has some dangerous areas that, don't house individuals, at least that is known. But yeah, the cliff there on the north coast. Yep. Indeed. Let's see. Let me pull up the stuff I have here that has already been decided for Val's Session 0. Yeah, there it is. Here we go. So Lunaris is primarily a dragonborn city. It is not all dragonborn, but it is run by a council of dragonborn families. Each of the Tri-Cities are run by a council of families. In Cosmoleg, you have a council of Gith and Githyanki, Githyanki and Githzrai families that run the city. And in Solessa is the Aasimar Tiefling focused families that sort of run that city. Solessa's primary export is Lunaris' primary export is wine, potion makers and spellcrafters, known as moon enchanters. Cosmoleg is primarily armor and weapons. They output, that's their primary output. And then Solessa is healing and curses and, you know, more religious based in things, artifacts, spells of religion, of divine origins, also known as sun enchanters. Yeah, so those are what I have really defined so far. There are a couple of individuals that I won't go into that are already sort of defined for our characters' backstories, and not just Val's. There are some individuals that are in other backstories that sort of live in these three cities. The Port of Dominion is an important thing. That's sort of where... before the storms, the Port of Dominion was very popular in getting things around the island. It's still used, but not by any major seafaring ships. It is only used by ships that can survive, travel around the coast easily. So small schooners, rowboats, that kind of stuff. There is some, still travel around the ocean, just not very far. You can sort of see it actually let me make sure you can in our what we're doing here. Just so you know, our cooldown today will go a little longer than normal. Since it's just me and we're doing some DM stuff, you guys get a little extra time today. So you can see sort of here around the coast, there's a darker blue, a darker gray blue and a lighter gray blue. The lighter gray blue is sort of a shelf that is closer to the island. That shelf is safe to travel. That shelf is safe to travel with boats, whereas anything out in the deeper parts is considered essentially death because of the storms of Thasha, Thasha's storms that surround the islands. Oh no, not more time hanging out with Ron. No, it's the worst. I'm sure some people believe that. And, they're entitled to their opinions. So, do we have any questions here before we move on to force card stuff? And please don't ask questions like, well, what's in that thing? I'm, not going to tell you that, but, there's could be some other stuff that you want to know. I do want to create, with the help of all of you, before we move to force cards, I do want to create 3 individuals, one out of each of the Tri-Cities. These individuals will not be super powerful, but I want them to have something very important that they need to do in each city. They could be something like, how many species are on the island? I think there's been 5 or 6 mentioned. Yes. So very good question, FF Gogo. We have humans. All right. That's been mentioned. We've mentioned that on this island, elves also exist. They are rarer than they are on the northern island, but they do exist. Goblins, and orcish types, they exist on this island. Gith, Tiefling Asimar, excuse me, the Dragonborn exist on this island. Let me pull up the races and tell you other ones that exist on this island. Give me a quick moment here. Most of the animal races do not appear on this island. They have been cut off since they became a part of this material plane. So none of the, races you might find in the Feywild typically aren't found. Animal races typically aren't found here. That kind of stuff. Dwarves, there are a few dwarves, but most of the dwarves are on the northern island. Halflings and gnomes are very well represented in the southern islands. As far as what's known by others, that's pretty much it. You might have a rumor of a Goliath or 2. Lizard folk, not here. Minotaurs not here. There are definitely sea elves, some in at least a small number of them around. But a lot of the other animal-based, not here, just don't exist on this part of the island. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for the races that exist on this island. And I say this island, it should say continent. It's not, it's an island continent, but it is a very big island. It is not small in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. Any other questions about this? Otherwise, we'll get into some characters to find. Okay, I'm going to start with. Let's start. And if you have any questions while we're doing this, feel free to post them. You don't have to hold them in. Please let them out so that we can answer them for you. That's why we're here. Idaho Judd, not yet Force Cards. We're going to do some creation of, I want to do one NPC created by the Watchers in each of the Tri-Cities. So we're going to do that first. We're going to start with Solessa. Now, reminder, Solessa is going to be either Tiefling, primarily Tiefling, or ASMR. However, they can also be one of the other three, any of the other races that I've mentioned. So let's start with, if you're in here, if you would like them to be ASMR type 1, if you'd like them to be Tiefling type 2, and if you'd like them to be something other than those two, type 3. This is how we're going to do it. Actually, I could probably just kickstart are any of our mods on? Can somebody do a poll? Yeah, Angel Devilson, can you do a poll for me? That would be helpful. Sorry, everybody. I forgot that we have mods. It's having my own channel, yeah, if you could do a poll for me, Angel Devilson, that would be very helpful. ASMR, Tiefling, and other is what we'll do for the poll. Actually, I probably could do it myself if I pull up the tools, huh? If I pull up our tools, I could probably do it myself. But we have our, we got our friends here, so let's see, get that poll up and running. All right, we got a poll. What type shall this NPC be? ASMR, Tiefling, or other? I do have mods on my channel. I just don't rely on them as much as I probably should. Is kind of what I mean. All right. We got some time left before. Oh, it was, Tiefling was winning there for a while. Now it seems to be ASMR. Ooh, a lot of you want some ASMR. Great. Love that. We'll let this run. You can change your answer at any time. Thank you, Angel Devilson. Appreciate you. Thank you all of our mods for being so wonderful and helping us out. We really appreciate you. All right. You know what? I'm going to vote. Ooh, I'm going to vote now. I voted. Tattoos and Bones. Come on, other. Well, we're going to have two other ones outside of this one that will basically be similar choices, but will be dependent upon which city you're in. Now, we'll point out that the Gith in Cosmoleg, they do not follow the same sort of 5e of like Gith yanking Githzerai, where one's evil and one's ultimately good. Those don't really translate well into this world, the moral gray that we like to harp on. Idaho says, doesn't count, Ron. My vote doesn't count? Hey, I get a vote on the DM. I get to vote. We'll just say I'm voting for Heather. That's what we'll say. I know how Heather would vote, I think. All right. I do get the ultimate vote. That's true. I get the veto. I'm the president in this situation where I get to veto. All right. We got 53% of you thought ASMR. Great. So it's going to be ASMR. All right. Now I want you guys to drop in. Let's do class. What class should they be? And if you don't have them right off the top of your head, I can tell them to you. There's 13 of them. the standards plus the artificer. You got artificer, barbarian, bard, cleric, druid, fighter, monk, paladin, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. There's also blood hunters, but those don't exist in this world. We won't do a poll here. We'll just see what people put out there, and I'll make a decision. All right. Right now we got monks. Yeah, monks are great, especially in a divine setting, for sure. Especially with the changes too, right? Changes in monks coming down. Got monks, some warlock, a couple rogues, a barbarian. Rogue. People like rogues. Although monks are, I kind of like monk. I think I'm just going to choose monk because we don't have a whole lot of monks. We haven't met a whole lot of them. So I think that's compelling for me. And then I'm going to ask you guys to just give me an example of what you might think they would do in the city. Their job. Are they a shop owner? Do they run a cathedral? Are they in politics? Are they a blacksmith? Some major location that is tied to their job will be created around this NPC. So, what is it? What is it that they do? Their primary job in the city of Solessa. Departo said scribe. It's a good one. Doesn't have to be related to their class. So even if a class might not be, they could be a singer. Even though they're a monk, they could be a singer or a musician. A scholar. Okay. Very similar to scribe. Yep. A chef. Breba. Nice one. Chef. Tavern owner. Very similar to chef. Tavern keeper. Town square public philosopher. Tattoos and bones. Big brain. Librarian. Very similar to scribe. Grocery store owner. Also very similar to a tavern keeper. Since groceries were not really invented until, 20s, 40s, something like that. Doomsayer, very similar to a town square public philosopher. I actually kind of like chef, guys. I like chef a lot. So we'll make them a chef. I think in this one, we are going to make the chef female here. This one's going to be female. All right, now we'll do one for throw out some names. We've got a female ASMR chef monk chef. So give me some names. What do we want to call this person? Ooh, Rabbit Attack Coat says Tilda Swinton type. I mean, I'm a fan of Tilda Swinton, as I have said many times before. Any names out there, guys? Any names that coming up for y'all? Tallulah, I like to Fifi, Tallulah. Sharna, I know Sharna's coming in my head. I'm not quite sure. Susan, says Raven Queen. Just an ASMR named Susan. Adonia, I like Adonia. It's like Adonis, but Hava. Hava's a good one. I like Hava. Razora, I like that. Rabbit Attack Goat. We're gonna make them Razora. Razora is great. That's a good one. My brain went that one, so I followed it. Okay, so now we're gonna move to Cosmoleg. If you could give us a poll, please, Angel Devilson. This one will be Gith Yankee, Gith Zerai, or other. To give you a general difference, that's sort of related to 5e, but is more, contextual to our world. The general difference between Gith Zerai and Gith Yankee are individualistic, whereas Gith Zerai are more social. Gith Githyanki will pull themselves up by their bootstraps, quote unquote. And Githzerai will say it takes a village. So do we want them to be Githyanki, Githzerai, or other? I love that you spelled them Yankee like Yankees in the South. Close. But fits with the individualistic, that's for sure. Oh, straight up tie for Yankee, Githyanki and Githzerai. Oh no, yeah, I mean, for sure. It also just makes me laugh, that's all. I'm a Githyanki doodle dandy. Wow, straight up tie. I'm going to have to vote, guys. I get the ultimate vote, but I'm going to vote. Their job needs to be social. Yeah. Like a social worker, maybe. It's a good one. All right, right now we are tied 6-6 for Githyanki and Githzerai. You know what that means. The dice get to decide if it's a tie. Ooh! Got a Githzerai. Githzerai now is leading. Just a couple of seconds left in the vote, y'all. Somebody going to make it tie, and we're going to decide by the die. Ooh. And vote has ended. Githzerai wins it. So, we know now that this individual is, it takes a village. So now we need a class. Need a class for our Githzerai. Oh, surgeon, brand new class. Druid, we got a couple of druids. Oh, I mean, one warlock, 3 druids. You are on the wrong part. Yeah, I figured. I mean, it's a good suggestion. It's a good suggestion for, I don't know that a druid would be a surgeon, but maybe a veterinarian. A druid might be a veterinarian. I mean, we pretty much got, yeah, I mean, it's going to be druid. Druid. Makes sense, especially with the, you know, the idea of it takes a village. So now we need job. Again, their job will have them focus around a particular location within Cosmoleg if they decide to go there. Raven says runs an orphan. Wow, Angel Devis and Ravel Queen in the same headspace. Well done. Runs an orphanage. We have seen one orphanage in this show so far, or you know, the remnants of one. All right, I think people like orphanage, so runs an orphanage. All right, now a name. We need a name. Now, keep in mind, Githzerai names are very strange, right? They should feel alien in the mouth is a great way to sort of put that. Vordry. Nice. That is definitely alien in the mouth. Quaush. I like Quaush. That's a good one. Zakar. Well done. Talox, Galwinbrid, Zrak. I think we're going to go Quash Zakar is the name of this male. Quash. Cigar. Actually, we're going to make them a they. They will be a they. The traditional, in 5e, the traditional concepts of, man, woman, male, female do not exist in the Gith, are not strong in the Gith culture. So we'll make them a they. And then we're going to, okay, so that's good. We got everything we need for that individual. They're going to run an orphanage. We've got a chef out of Celessa. And now we're going to go to Lunarum. Now keep in mind, y'all, Lunarum is where Val comes from. His family is clearly high up in the council. We have not identified yet where, exactly how powerful or where they are in the council of Lunarum, but clearly high up if Daddy was running moonwine out of the port of Dominion. So in Lunarum, here's the poll. I need Angel Devilson. The poll here is chromatic dragonborn, metallic dragonborn, or other. For those of you who are watching and may not know the difference, chromatic means solid color, black, red, blue, green, yellow, etc. And metallic means metallic color, gold, copper, bronze. Typically, in lore, doesn't necessarily relate to Dragonborn, but does in dragons, where dragons of metallic types tend on the good side, whereas dragons on the chromatic scale tend on the evil side. Thank you, Ido Judd. Enjoy work. Thank you for supporting us. We appreciate you. Rabbit and Taco, they can all be in high standing. I think metallic probably do tend to be more powerful just because of, the culture of that in existence. Pretty metallic means probably something precious, but not necessarily rigidly. Tattoos and Bones says, other. We're getting a lot of other votes. Frankly delicious. Don't tease me with a good time. All right. Just because there are some standard chromatic dragon and dragonborn, do not assume that those are the only ones. There certainly could be a pink dragonborn. You just don't know. Space Goats. I have a Dungeons and Dragons questions. Are there any spells that would allow you to control a part of someone else's body? Against their will? I'm assuming? Like you want, like they don't... Charm? Specifically another part of body where you just want... I guess the question then becomes, are you trying to affect it in a way that their brain is doing the work, like you're forcing their brain to make the decision, or are you trying to use the magic itself to make the change, is really where I would go. I would need more clarification what you're trying. Could I manually give someone testicular torsion with a magical spell? Yes. Mage Hand? I mean, Mage Hand would do that, I think. Yeah. Might be a little difficult with Mage Hand. Telekinesis would probably work if you wanted something that was a little bit higher level. Tortos. Well, that's not going to be testicular torsion, but yeah. I won't go into the problematic nature of that question, but if you're just looking for raw input, I think probably, telekinesis, Mage Hand. Bigsby's giant hand maybe, but that'd have to be a pretty big one because it's a giant hand. But anyway, family show. So other was the solution. So we're going to make other, and that means I'm going to decide the race then. Let me see here. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so I'm going to roll. I'm going to have to do this electronically because I do not have a D14. So I'm going to do this via Google. Roll 1D14. All right, that's not right. Oh, here we go. That's not a thing either. That's a D6. I want a D14. Come on. Oh, here we go. All right, we're going to roll go 11. All right, so it's 11. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11. Deep gnome. We got a deep gnome on our hands. That's super interesting, super compelling, especially in Lunarum. Deep gnome. Okay, so, as in other like gem dragons. I did include one of the 14 was sort of gem dragons. So now we need class. We got Artificer, Deep Gnome, definitely fits Artificer. Wizard would fit, especially Lunarum, but anything is open. Yeah, Tattoos and Bones number 1 would have been another gem dragon. Would have been a gem dragon born. Tapartos really wanting a warlock. 2 for Artificer. Any other class suggestions out there? FF Gogo also likes Artificer. A vote for Rogue. Ooh, Cleric, throwing it for a loop there. Cleric. I think Artificer is going to be the choice. Job. Need a job for Artificer. I'm assuming some sort of magic item shop owner would be, probably a good one, but brewery boss, mad tinkerer, toy maker, Tapartos, very cool. Embalmer, funerary director. All right. I do kind of like a mortician. Toy maker's good too. In fact, gnomes are known to do it. They have multiple jobs. We're going to do toy maker, mortician. They're going to have 2 jobs. They're a toy maker and a mortician. I think Artificer would do really well with that kind of job. Okay, now we just need a name. Yeah, you can go different ways with it. Creepy, you could make it like sort of like Tattoos and Bones, where they specialize in making toys for children who have lost family members. Yep. I am Raven Creed's like by day I'm a toy maker, and by night I'm a mortician. Ooh, Bentak. Goltrill. Namfoodle. Namfoodle, I like. I like Namfoodle. We'll have the first name be Namfoodle. Now we just need a surname. I like Cogsmith. That's a good general direction for Deep Gnome. Band baby? Barnaby. No. No, Raven Queen. No. Devya, Comprod, Softstone, Lead Seeker, Yamandis, Nibblehands, Namfoodle Nibblehands, Nibble or Nimble? Nibblehands, Talpop, Kargak, Nagrok. I kind of like Nibblehands. Namfoodle Nibblehands. That sounds very gnomish to me. Dave. That's his nickname. Namfoodle Dave Nibblehands. Dave. All right, so we've got 3 NPCs. One in Solessa, one in Cosmolag, and one in Lunarum. And I will be building sort of locations around these individuals. Clearly, because their jobs, one's going to be a chef, maybe at a restaurant, maybe at a tavern. We don't know. Runs an orphanage. That's pretty clear going to be an orphanage. Whether it's a sanctioned orphanage or more like Oliver, we never know. And then Lunarum, we have a toy maker by day and a mortician at night. So that's pretty clear what that'll be, most likely. Hi, I'm Namfoodle Nibblehands. You can call me Dave. Exactly. That's exactly it. That's one in my head for sure. Okay, so well done, everybody. Let's go back to this single chat here. And now let's discuss a little bit about force cards. So I'm going to bring up our good old website. We got a little thing about force cards here. A lot of it still sort of holds true. It does need to be, sort of updated. We need to update the website here. Another thing that I'll be hopefully spearheading in a couple weeks as the weeks continue. So generally, a tier 1 should be thematic and light. Generally, tier 2 could impact one player for some amount of time or include more than one player for a very short amount of time, like a round. Tier 3 impacts everyone, including players for a brief time. It might change the environment to balance a combat or situation. Tier 4 is usually a longer period of time, might include items such as scrolls, potions, and one-use magical items. Tier 5 would impact heavily one person or the group in some major way, possibly for more than one episode. It could also include low-tier magic items, random themed treasure chests, examples, etc. Tier 6 would be, impacts the group for more than one episode. It could include mid-tier magic items, themed chests, so on and so forth. Tier 7 would be, larger. There's a variety of range once you get beyond Tier 5. Typically, we have light and shadow, and we also go by hindrance and helpful, but we also have neutral. So, before we get into any of this, do we have any questions from the audience about force cards? Breba is a wonderful community, quote unquote, expert. I'd say Tepartos is probably someone you could reach out to as well for help in that. Ryan Winters is pretty good about that too. Just in terms of what I've experienced with submissions of force cards. Those 3 tend to be very good. I have to change their cards very little, and they also just submit most of them. So if outside of this particular Q&A session, if you're creating a card and need some advice, perfectly use the Discord to your advantage. You could ask me. We have a channel for it now, but you could also reach out to any of these individuals for some assistance if you'd like. They're going to be tier cards 8 since they leveled up to 8. They leveled up to 7 is what they leveled up. But when 7 is done, they will level up to 8. So the tiers are based on not the party's level, but the level in which y'all have moved that force. So, we recently hit force level 6, I believe, on light, which will now put it to the highest tier is now 7 on light, as you push that force towards the light side. Oh, great, Rabbit Attack Goat. I hope to see more from you. That would be wonderful. I see Tattoos and Bones is actually has submitted one. Lovely. Thank you, Tattoos and Bones. Okay. We actually had Taparto submit one today as well. Both of you chose tier 4, in fact. We had Braba submit one today. Also tier 4. 2 helpfuls and a neutral. Those are cool. Let's see. Generally, proper keywords, great. Generally speaking, we've been talking about, especially in the Discord, there is sort of a belief, and I won't say whether it's wrong or right because it's just a belief, but I hear it, is that generally the cards have been helpful more than anything else, rather than neutral or hindrance. Some of that is because 5e does not do well with, debuffs, just because of the difficulty of combat creation as it is. But I hear it from the community. I will make sure to include more neutral and obstacle-based cards. But that we'll also put that on our community that creates the cards is please, by all means, include more obstacle-heavy force cards. I will make sure to use those. Tapartos, I've noticed that you sort of create cards that make the party think. I think that's very good. Anything that causes the party to try to strategize, to role play, cards that might impact particular, especially the higher level tiers, cards that might impact the story as a whole are valid. So by all means, that's sort of what we are doing. So I believe the last time that we played, last Wednesday, we had the last cards that we received were level 2 light and a level 3 shadow. I believe there is actually a level 3 light available and ready, but I don't know if that's actually accurate yet. I have to go back and look, and I don't have that in front of me here. The force card sort of control that I used during the show. So the last one we had was the Forgotten Fruit, which was the orange that Rhea got. And the last light one we had was Sense No Evil, and that ended up being Hearing for Coco. So in terms of our force cards, we would be looking at light, probably tier 3 and tier 4, which some have been sort of offered here. Yeah, I am Raven Queen. I do too. That sort of gives me some interesting things to do in combat as well, as storytelling. So let's I'm going to read one of the ones that's submitted today. Let me see. I'm just gonna, because Braba is so helpful. They have their own little force cards that they're keeping track of, which I now use. Thank you, Braba, for sharing that with me. I'm going to go ahead and read, as long as you're okay with it, Braba, I'm going to go ahead and read the one that you submitted today. Yeah, same, Braba. Hindrance specifically is sort of harder to create because, it gives the players less options, and that's not as fun as giving them different options or limitations. Frankly Delicious says, wouldn't it be a bit of fun if someone's metalware suddenly became magnetic for a while at random occasions? pretty creative. I think that's pretty creative. No, Tiny Misfortunes, by all means, please, if you want to, you could put ideas here in chat. I will try to keep track of the ones that are put here in chat, and certainly could have sort of a conversation as a whole with these. But I also still recommend that you submit cards if you think they're good ideas. Everyone loses their inner monologue and has to say things out loud. I like this. This is a good one. All right, let me put 4 cards down here. Loss of inner monologue. That's a good one. Tiny Misfortunes. Enjoying your roll box, I hope. Angels Ovison did just submit one. All right, so Breba had one. It's a helpful. It's for Force of Shadow, called Blood on the Clockwork Tower. It says, deal a card to each of the players, which they keep secret. One of the cards will say cheater, the rest are blank. The cheater must lie about all of the D20 rolls, increasing either the value rolled or their modifier between 1 and 3 points. After any roll, the DM may accuse the roller of being the cheater, at which point the player reveals their card. If they were the cheater, their roll becomes a nat 1. Otherwise, it becomes a nat 20. If the roll was already a nat 1 or 20, the player gets a cursed/blessed dice instead. If the cheater is the last person left to be accused, they reveal themselves and all players get a blessed dice. Very cool. I like that a whole heck of a lot. That's very cool. Might be a little strong for blessed curse dice for tier 4, so might need to sort of add some caveats to that if I use it. But definitely, why Breba is sort of the quote unquote thought leader in this particular part of the campaign, which is cool. That is very cool. Yes, and I like it's helpful. Definitely a cool, very cool thing. Taparto says a second mind link card. Yep, we could certainly do that. Like that. Anything else in chat? What do you guys think? Feel free to think out loud. No one's going to judge you for what you might think is not a cool one. It could be as simple as like, I like fish. Certainly. Yeah, definitely, Breba. That's cool. Breba says the card name is a reference to Blood on the Clock Tower, which is a social deduction / hidden roll game. Thought it was a fun source of inspiration to draw from. Definitely. It's like a game within a game. Love that. That's cool. Angel Devilson. Sure, I'll read yours. Failshin coin. It is a helpful force of light, tier 4. A coin appears in each player's hand for 1 episode. If an advantage is countered, roll a d4. One of 2 things happens. Roll a d4. 1 and 2, the advantage is still countered. Three to 4 is you gain back the advantage. If you have straight disadvantage, roll a d4. 1 and 2 is a straight roll. 3 to 4 is you roll a disadvantage. You still roll as disadvantage. I see what you mean. So it's sort of a Failshin's coin is sort of flipping in the opposite direction to try to help them in one way or another. That seems appropriate level tier 4. I would probably add some other options and increase the die roll. But yeah, that's a Failshin coin. Love that. That's a great sort of especially role play specific where that happens, right? A Failshin coin pops up and they're like, oh no, Failshin's here again. And there's some change. Love that kind of stuff. FF Gogo, yeah, nice. Okay, so FF Gogo says unable to cast a range spell without touching a PC, but when they do, it'll increase the range. That's a cool little, causes them to mean they have to be close to one another, but they get some benefit for, doing that. That can be very useful in combat for both sides, in fact. Yeah, Tapartos, that's sort of the roleplay stuff that we talked about before. Yeah, Magic, the Wild Magic, I love Wild Magic, but I've been developing sort of my own Wild Magic table to add some stuff there. But I sort of like Tapartos that if that's the case, that you give me a small table. That would also be kind of cool, I think. Sir Galahad, I also say hello to you. But I know that's a lot of work to Parto, so you feel free to keep the Wild Magic Surge table. I just reserve the right to maybe use a custom one. Yeah. Tattoos and Moans, that's a good one. A Mother's Rage, a hindrance. The head of a Mother's Rage, the weather that is currently happening in the scene is heightened to extremes. Bright warm days become overbearingly hot. Rain becomes a deluge. Wind or fog or snow becomes hurricane forces. An impassable blizzard, a deep blinding mist. This can affect resources, travel conditions the characters have to prepare for and overcome. Lovely. Lovely. I think we had similar cards earlier in the season 2 with that. But yes, very good. Mother's Rage. FF Go-Go. Everyone rolls a die. Lowest gets the effect. Yep, exactly, Braba. Very good, very good point. Presumably where their party is going, they'll likely be having a lot more social interactions in the near future, political, so on and so forth. Might be good to have some cards to interact well with that. Is an 18-foot by 32-foot table of oak and birch a good table? Yes. I'm going to go with maybe yes. Hallucinations, sort of, frankly. Great. Auditory hallucinations. Those are cool. All right. Any others? That's just a red cap. Cool. Like those. If you don't know, any of these that you're inspired by, especially if they're your idea, you can submit your idea by going to thedungeonrun.tv/force and clicking the submit your idea button. That should take you to a Google form. Actually, I will post the form here so that you can see that form. Here is the link for the form specifically. Like haunted objects, sure. Rabbit attack goat. Yep. So I think I can. I think I can edit this form. I can. Make this. Great. Updated that form. Redcap Chaos does sound fun. I agree. All right. But definitely some good ideas here. Have some people submitting, which is great. We've got lots of inner monologue, second mind link, increase range if you touch someone, lowest roll movement becomes 0, but they start to teleport around. Audio hallucinations of redcap, general redcap chaos is nice. Crown of importance, which someone can claim royalty, sort of like Aladdin. Those are all very good cards there. Again, make sure you guys submit cards if you are so inspired. We will continue to work on all of that. All right. Well, we've gone almost 2 hours, so I've got you got a couple of seconds here for any final questions if you have any. Slay gets one size larger. Nice. Maybe Slushy Slay gets one size larger, but Slushy gets one size smaller. Sir Galahad, I'm okay. Still in the job hunting market, having some success finally, but not a whole lot. Not what I want to do, but hanging in there. Super Mario, yes. JMja, yes. Absolutely excited about that. Today, I haven't had a chance to play it, but Diablo 4 dropped their big patch today in preparation of Season 1, so looking forward to that for things outside of D&D, obviously. I've been playing a Barbarian, but I think for the new season, I will probably play a Rogue. Maybe a Druid. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So yeah, looking forward to that. Let's see, what else do I have? What do I have coming up? I still have to get to all of the rewards that people have earned because of the money we raised for the Lupus Foundation. Have been working on those. Those will be coming soon. Need to send more emails out again because I didn't hear from about 3 or 4 people for custom paints. So need to reach back out on that. Printer was down for a couple of days. Got that back up and running. Yeah. So, yeah. Some updates on, Tapartos, I saw that. I want to play it first to see how it feels, before I get, too in my feels about it. But yeah, couple updates. We will, it's just normal, normal maintenance. Sir Galahad had to change out my FEP and calibrate settings. No big deal. Just was down for a couple of days because I didn't have the time. Yes, a couple of updates. We'll be back next week. We're moving into a new chapter. So there might be a transitionary period between that chapter. Still working out the details there. But we may see some visions or flashbacks coming soon. So keep a lookout for all of that. Oh, great. We've got a raid. Oh, okay. Hello, raid. Welcome. I just saw a bunch of a Yims. Didn't know what that was. Was hoping it wasn't bad. It does not appear like it was. Good. Welcome, Raid. We are just actually wrapping things up. I just did a 2-hour session of behind the scenes for our show, as well as offering some opportunities for further interaction by our audience. We just did some force card creations. They helped me create at least the bare bones of 3 NPCs that they'll find in the next coming chapter 3 of the Dungeon Run Season 2, and a variety of other things. Question and answer sessions about where I get my inspiration. We even did a probably longer than it should have been breakdown of the SAG after strikes and what that meant for our show, as well as what it means for me as an actor and for the show in general. So welcome, everyone. I don't see who raided because this thing doesn't tell me. So hold on a second. I want to make sure to call out our raider. Apologies. Didn't see the raid, didn't announce for me. Oh, Sir Unmoyen Temps. Thank you, Sir Unmoyen Temps, for raiding. We appreciate it. What were you guys just up to? What were you doing? What was Sir Unmoyen Temps? I hope I'm saying that correctly. What were you guys just up to? A beer tasting? Dang! I'm sorry, I missed that. That sounds like that was great. Well, thank you for loving the show. We appreciate you very much for both. What kind of beers were you doing? Was it like one beer, a couple of beers? Like, tell me a little bit about your beer tasting. Lullabies Pies. I love that name. Yeah, listens intensely. Our Norwegian Kvek beer. So wild yeast in its wildest shape. Ooh. How was it? Thumbs up, thumbs down, mid thumb? How many sips out of 10 would you give it? Or, it's beer, so gulps maybe. Rye-licious. I do like a nice rye, both in hard liquor and beer. So many sips. Well done. I love some rye-based liquors for sure. Unfortunately, I'm no longer allowed to drink, which makes me very sad. Mostly because of medications. But I will live vicariously through others. Yes, I've drank a lot of liquor in my life, for sure. And I know I do like beer, especially. It was always something. Sours, I enjoy a nice sour. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Sorry, Sir Unmoyen Temps, we are just sort of ending the show here today after a 2-hour stream. But before I go, we will raid someone that we find beautiful in our own world, and let me decide who that's going to be. In fact, I'm going to send you, as I normally do, to my great friend 8-Bit D. If you don't know D is a lupus person with lupus, like my mother, and is in fact who inspired me to do the fundraiser for the Lupus Foundation earlier this year, or a couple months ago, and I am happy to announce that we raised us alone raised $5,000 through the Real Ogden. So thank you everyone for your contributions on that. Huge success there. And I think overall they raised 189. D can give you the exact specific numbers, but 189,000 via the GoTel. Game On and Lupus. So I'm looking forward to doing that again next year. And unfortunately, recently we lost Jasper's Game Day. If you guys have not heard, Jasper's Game Day has ended as a charity, mostly because the individual who runs it it has gotten older and is now entering a master's degree, and that takes a lot of time and effort. They have said that they will most likely pick it back up once they are done with their advanced degrees, but for now, Jasper's Game Day has ended. So if y'all find any other TTRPGs or charity stuff, you guys know I love charitable events. Please reach out to me on the Discord. Let me know if you have any connections or know of charities that are worthy of a cause, because I love to give my time and efforts. So we're gonna raid 8-Bit D. She's playing some Hades today. So if you have not played that game, wonderful game, another mythology based game, and very interesting to watch. D is a wonderful human being and will interact quite a lot. So make sure that you say hello to them. Although, what is Quincy doing today? Oh, Quincy isn't doing tavern stuff. They're doing 7 Days to Die. Yeah, we're going to go with 8-Bit D. I wouldn't say Quincy's Tavern, but D is sort of tangential to what we're doing. I met D recently. You might ask her about it. She got a thing that I painted, and we had tapas together with Sandeep over at Effin' Funny. So you guys make sure to support them. Great friends of the show. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I really appreciate your time and efforts. As always, this show is brought to you by our patrons. So without them, you would not have this show. Please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/thedungeonrun. Plenty of options for you there on extra content, including our short rests, which are about 15 to 20 minute long, extended episodes of the cast discussing what just happened with the DM at the table. You get it all basically right after it happened, and you get some behind the scenes kind of information and content there. Make sure you also, I will be dropping some DM stuff, specifically around monsters and traps and stuff that I developed for the City of Glass. We'll probably drop some boons that I never used. I generated some boons for both Umbrith and Luminath that I will drop for you guys to use in your own games. You also, if you really like it, could become part of our forces, Force of Light or Force of Shadow, and have your names read off by the cast in an improvised way, like a party game or an improvised comedy game at the end of every episode. So please check those out and give us a follow. Again, without all of you, this would not occur. So thank you for being here. This will be going up on our Patreon immediately after the show, and we will see you on Wednesday. Stick around for 8-Bit D, and I heart all of you. Thank you. Join the Discord. Let's have conversations. I'm trying to be more active there, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Union strong!